I think it is excellent for us, because, especially for women, because when we say break the bias, sometimes we think it is not breaking the bias in physical, because sometimes here in women break the bias in their minds, because sometimes the breaking this bias that we have this kind of that we have feel that we are not having our own chances by all means, but actually we as women should do it ourselves and try to break it in our minds and grasp this opportunity which we already have. So of course, I love this slogan for this year.
That's with me quite well. The biases that are there, especially when it comes to women-led organizations, and just women in general, as vocal as we are, and as much as, progressive as we think we are, but we are still, many steps behind in terms of living it. We talk about it, women empowerment. We talk about, putting women in leadership positions, but there's still that biasness, that women belong, in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant. So we have to break those stereotypes. We have to break those biases. So this resonates with me. These are the perfect platforms to shout even louder, because we are more than that. There's more to us. And as you can see, everything we touch, turns to gold. And so it's very, very important that we address these and, these biases. Thank you.
I agree with the previous two speakers. Breaking the bias really resonates with me, because I am in an industry that is dominated by males, and also something that is, it's quite intensive, traveling to the rural communities, and also in my journey trying to bring other women up with me. So it's really resonates in the sense that it also confirms with what I already believe, that things don't have to be as they have been. You can change that. I'm happy to be breaking the bias by being in the industry, and also by working with women in that industry. So yes, it resonates.
Yeah, this point really resonates with me. I think I kind of see it in two different ways. I started my career as an engineer, and obviously STEM related subjects have a very low percentage of women. So I always wanted to make sure that women really think about STEM as a career, and really think about engineering as something that they can do too. And we're seeing a change, but I think it's still not enough. If only 16% of women are in STEM, then we have a long way to go. And now as an entrepreneur, when I look at the stats on how many women-led businesses get funding, it's less than 2% of all businesses, of women-led businesses get funding, and then less than 0.5% for women of color. So it's a difficult fact. It's always said that there's a pipeline problem. There's not enough women entrepreneurs. And through my work at Founderland, I see that that's not true. I think we have a long way to go to make things as equal as possible. But I still think we're in a really exciting time where there's so much movement into this space. And right now I'm in Berlin, where International Women's Day is a day off. The whole city is off for Women's Day. So it's such a great statement to make. I think the whole world should do this. And I think we're on track to something good, and hopefully building the best role models for the next generation of women.
Thank you for that. So
less than 0.5% for women of color. So it's a difficult fact. It's always said that there's a pipeline problem. There's not enough women entrepreneurs. And through my work at Founderland, I see that that's not true. I think we have a long way to go to make things as equal as possible. But I still think we're in a really exciting time where there's so much movement into this space. And right now I'm in Berlin, where International Women's Day is a day off. The whole city is off for Women's Day. So it's such a great statement to make. I think the whole world should do this. And I think we're on track to something good, and hopefully building the best role models for the next generation of women. pursuing my line of business, I was always passionate about sustainability. So I wanted to study engineering to go into renewable energy, which ended up leading me to waste and learning about waste recycling, which then ended up making me want to do this, solve a specific problem myself as an entrepreneur. It's not been the easiest journey, coming from the UK to Berlin and not knowing German too well was difficult initially, but the network here has been great and everyone's been so welcoming and so engaging that I personally am a huge fan of setting up a business in a city like Berlin. I think there's still a long way to go, as I said, but yeah, I hope that with my work, we're creating, with Founderland specifically, we're creating a community of women of color entrepreneurs across Europe and the UK. We already have 150 women in our community, and hopefully by the end of the year, we have 500. So we're creating that next generation of entrepreneurs, and I can't wait to see where things go.
Just wanting to put something in the world that I hadn't seen. So even though you are in a position where, you know, by all means, you should be happy. I mean, after school, for many university students, they want to have a job. So I had a good job. I was qualified as an accountant, which is, you know, something people always also struggle with. But there was just something in me that yearned to do more and to have more impact. When I was in school, I was able to start a cafe, which was, you know, a hanging spot for, you know, students. And even after I went into corporate, I found that there was still a yearning in me to be able to produce a product that I thought was lacking on the market. And for me, that was coffee, because a lot of people didn't even know Ghana had coffee. A lot of people would ask me, do Ghanaians even drink coffee? Why do you even want to, you know, go into the coffee business? But I could see that there was definitely a need for coffee shops. When I was writing my exams, there were like the libraries would close early, and then I was like, oh, if I had a, you know, coffee shop, maybe I could go study there afterwards, as a meeting place. Even as we're talking about entrepreneurship and places where your ideas can be grown and discussed with like-minded people. For me, that was what happens in a coffee shop, and I thought it was lacking in the community. So I think identifying that need that was relevant to me was one of the reasons why I decided to embark on entrepreneurship. And I would say that from where I am in the ecosystem, I realized that most people start businesses based on their own experiences, you know, either something that happens to you or something that is close by. So for people who are looking for ideas, it's always something that is close to you and something that means something to you. That's always a good place to start.
For me, really, it's really multi-layered. You know, South Africa is a country of contradictions, you know, and travel has always been associated with, you know, wealth and opulence, and, you know, and we've got a huge society that was previously disenfranchised, that have not had access to travel. So the business model is as such that, you know, it's very accessible. We've made travel affordable and accessible. So, you know, people that were previously couldn't travel are now enjoying, you know, the beauty that is South Africa. You know, they can travel to their own backyards at an affordable rate. But also what was very important to me was creating jobs. I work with a lot of women-based, you know, women-led organizations, you know, from shuttle companies, from suppliers of fruits and vegetables, you know, so that to me was really like that thing that said, you have to go out there, popularize the country, but while making, you know, a difference. You know, people are getting employed. We go to different destinations across South Africa, setting up, you know, camps. So when we get there, we employ the locals. We train the locals, you know, in terms of taking ownership of the government state assets. You know, these are yours, they belong to you. You know, fight for them, look after them. If you look after the environment, it will look after you too. You know, get involved in tourism. This is what happens. You can actually make a living, out of this. So to me, it's seeing those people, coming to work for us when we go to these destinations, but learning more so that when we go back, they are able to still sustain themselves, using that model. So basically it was the love of travel, it was the impact that one would make in the different communities, and also just empowering previously disenfranchised people.
Very interesting question for me, because you will be surprised that for many years I didn't know what was inspiring me to start my business. Frankly, and to be honest, straight away when I started my business, I had many stages that, for example, in the beginning, I wanted to start my business to have more time with my kids. I was working in a multinational company, so I just wanted to have more time with them. After a while, I have different motivation to start another business, because actually before BznsBuilder already I'm having a manufacturing company for petrochemicals. This is I started and it's working now. I have my also another textiles where I exported to big brands in Europe and in the States. So I have like 2-3 startups. I'm investing in many startups here. So I didn't know what was the real motivation for this until like few years passed when I started to work on my own thing, what motivates me. So I found out that the real thing that let me wake up every morning is what is required by my creator, is to help people to dream and believe that their dream will come true. And this is why I built BznsBuilder within this scope, which is helping startups here and SMEs in the region to help this in doing their business plans, financial plans, get raising in their funds. So for many years, I didn't know why I was so crazy enough to go into this crazy world of entrepreneurship until a few years ago, I realized what really motivates me and make me go on despite all of this struggle. So it's an interesting question to be answered. It took with me time to know, but thank God that now I know what is the reason.
Mine is a personal story. So this dates back to over 20 years ago. As a young girl, I constantly struggled with anemia and stomach issues, especially when I consumed certain vegetables. So over time, I used to go to hospital and the doctors would tell me, you need to take more fresh vegetables. And I would take them and they would give me stomach issues. So the cycle continued for a while until someone suggested, why don't you check where the source of your vegetables is? And during that time, we were seeing in the news, at least in Kenya, that there is that challenge of you do not know the source of your vegetables because they have been grown in unhygienic conditions. Some of them are grown in not very nice places. And therefore, I decided, could I try and get my own vegetables? So I planted a small house and I started. And through that journey, I can tell you I have healed. I have been able to donate blood severally. And this solution, I have transported it to quite a number of my friends and it worked. And this is how I started my business. Initially, like one of us said, I wanted to spend more time with my children, which is what I'm doing, but also I'm able to give a solution to many people. We're empowering our communities because right now our cities are becoming a concrete jungle. Every day, a new building will come up. But what solutions are we having in the area of food? You find that in the next 20 or 30 years, we will not have enough food. And so what can you and I do? We find that we can be able to utilize the small spaces in our homes and even in our companies, in our institutions. We grow some vegetables that we are able to eat when you're going home, when you're having lunch, you have something to even talk around. We have found that some of my clients have actually gone into this solution because of their own families. They want to have a place where they can talk about, they can grow their vegetables, they can teach their children to be responsible. And this has been a winner in Kenya. So I used to mostly do it to homes because many women were calling me to go and install for them kitchen gardens and all that. And then I looked at the number of problems we are having, especially in our health centers. In the slum areas, you'll find that there are hospitals, yes, but you find the women who are there struggle with anemia. They struggle, especially when they're expectant and also when they're lactating. So we look for a solution that would be able to assist them. Our solution was to come up with kitchen gardens in the health centers, whereby as the women would come for the antenatal checkups, they would be able to go home with a pack of vegetables. So what we did is, before a woman was recruited into the program, would be able to first take their HB level or their blood level, and then we give them vegetables that have been grown in an organic way, because we use natural resources, we use manure, we do not use chemicals on them. And then you find that over the period, they're able to regain back their blood, because you also realize that as women, especially when we give birth, we lose a lot of blood. And so when we're able to give them a solution like that to people who cannot be able to access it, it becomes a win, and that has been our greatest impact. We have done this in institutions, we have done this to other homes, and that is why they keep coming back to grow these vegetables in an organic way.
I always say that we have become facilitators of enhancing people's lives. And that happened very organically, so unplanned. You know, we have become a community, a movement, you know, of sort, you know, in terms of the people that come to glamp with us. We, especially, you know, after COVID, you know, the effects of COVID have been dire, you know, emotionally, financially, you know. So one of the things that we do religiously at our camps is the campfire stories. So we gather in the evenings around the campfire. We have people from different parts of South Africa. You know, some travel as solos, some come as families, some come as friends. And we do introductions, who we are, you know, why we are there, you know, what makes us tick, and the stories that come out of there, you know, heartwarming. You know, you find women that are traveling across the country on public transport just to get to us. You know, the stories of the impact of COVID, you know, and the solutions that come out of those sittings, you know, are amazing. So to me, it's the stories, it's the solutions, it's the empowerment, it's the exchange. You know, we found that also organically we attract women. We have never said we are a women glamping company, but 95% of the people that come to glamps are women, and they come back, and so they come back, but they also recruit. So also over 50% of our people is by word of mouth. You know, so we've just become a community. We've become a lifestyle movement that is just heart. It's heartwarming what comes out of the sessions around the fire, the building each other, you know, the solutions to our problems, makes my glamps, you know. Yeah.
I think for me, what I'm most proud of is being very intentional throughout in including women in our value chain. So working with our farmers, we're very intentional in saying that we wanted women to be included in this value chain. We wanted our women to be farming. We wanted them to be selling us their green beans, and we wanted to give them access to a global market. So they in turn were encouraged to produce coffee, and then also economically empowered to solve for themselves some of the problems that they may have. And for many of them in conversation, you would find that it's about their children's school fees, or just keeping them in school, really, I mean, was the bedrock for a lot of our women. And for us as well, just giving them an opportunity helped combat some of the problems that we found in the rural communities, things like early child pregnancies, where, after secondary school, they do not continue education, they get married early, and then it continues in a vicious cycle. But now it's like, hey, we have something to do. We have something to keep us busy. We have something to be engaged with. We started with 6 women farmers, and we've grown to impact over 40 women farmers as of now. So that's something that we're really proud of. The second thing we're proud of in terms of impacts is just being able to take something from ideation into a finished good. So, like usually you have a dream or you think, oh, I want to do this, but how do you do it? So that being able to take just that idea of, oh, I want to have a coffee shop, or, oh, I want to change the narrative of not adding value in Ghana, and being able to do that such that we have packaged coffee from coffee that is grown in Ghana, that was grown by Ghanaian farmers, that was processed in Ghana, is something that we really enjoy, and it has impact for us. It's also a validation, so to speak, of the made in Ghana narrative, where we're saying that, Ghana wants to do for itself, Africa wants to do for itself, and we're showing that we can. We are producing Dawadawa coffee and Prekese infused coffee and ginger infused coffee. If we were not from Ghana, we wouldn't be able to highlight those things. If our green beans were just going out, we wouldn't be able to innovate in such a manner. So I think that's also where we're having impact, to show that world-class coffee can be produced by Ghanaians for the world.
I'm so amazed with these great ladies, and bless you all. Okay, about myself, maybe alhamdulillah, I'm proud of 2 main things. First is something, I'm a founder of one of the biggest NGOs here in Egypt for clothes. So we founded this company 12 years ago with a mission by 2025 that we help poor people in Egypt, that they can have clothes, because it's a main item for them in anything, for the coldness, for the if they have an interview, for school uniforms. And the poverty in Egypt is about 30%. So luckily enough, we have almost 30%, which is about 33 million Egyptian people here. So luckily enough, we have covered about 22 million through this time, that we have all of their database, so that we provide them clothes till their home with the right sizes, even with the shoes, the socks, the trousers, everything is very accurate, so that the family can have a full package with all their requirements. They don't have to worry about this. Also, one of the great things with which we have done in the Egyptian clothing bag, this is the name of my NGO, that we even started to educate people about the recycling clothes, that now they don't have to even the recycling clothes, that we are reusing it with very big well-known brands here in Egypt, so that it can be resell again with good numbers, so that other people can benefit from it. So this is also this kind of education in the ecosystem. Alhamdulillah, we were the leaders here in Egypt, and we succeeded in this. This is about my NGO. About BznsBuilder, luckily enough, it's BznsBuilder only launched in 2022 with the Corona item. It was very challenging time, but despite this, on our platform, we have more than 2,000 startups, which we have helped them to have their startup with their business plans. Many have already been involved in incubators, accelerators, raising funds, or even they started with bootstrapping. And also we expanded to Asia. We have this initiative of Women Up, 1,000 women. We help them to start their own business, and we are taking this initiative here in Egypt. So hopefully, I hope that I don't stop, and I keep continuing in this, because the more I'm involved in these activities, the more I feel that my dream is stretched. I myself is stretched, and I ask Allah that I don't stop it, and until the last breath of my life, inshallah.
First of all, wow, all these women are so amazing. I'm literally like getting goosebumps from hearing all of you and your awesome, awesome stories. Such a nice way to spend the day today. So with Clyderly, which is my first organization, I was really trying to tackle the problem of clothing waste and clothing going into landfills or incinerators, because every second an entire truck full of textiles is going into a landfill, which is of course producing a ton of CO2. So with this, we've managed to prove to the world that you can create a viable solution to recycle textiles into a plastic and reuse this plastic using circular economy principles to produce completely different products. And it's really exciting to now get to present that to big fashion brands across the world and discuss ways that they can reduce their textile waste and avoid having overproduction or returned goods. So I really hope that we continue to make as much impact as possible and recycle as many textiles as possible. With Founderland, our goal is really to change the landscape or the face of entrepreneurship in Europe. You know, there's this huge difficulty in supposedly, like I said, half a percent of funding goes to women of color here in Europe. And we want to change that. So whenever we've been speaking to VCs or investors across Europe, they say there's just not enough women of color entrepreneurs. And we're showing them that that's not true. We're creating the biggest community of diverse women in Europe building businesses. And we've been luckily enough funded now by google.org. And this just kind of is that stamp of approval that this is a huge problem and we're helping to hopefully fix that. So with this organization, our goal is that all of the women who go through our accelerator program get funded, that their businesses get as much VC capital as possible. They go on to raise millions and then they become the next unicorns. So, you know, we no longer see the Steve Jobs as the ideal entrepreneur, but we see a woman or a woman of color as the entrepreneur to look up to. My greatest challenge so far. I think my greatest challenge when building Clyderly was fundraising. And this was due to so many reasons. I came from the engineering world and I didn't have an understanding of entrepreneurship, what it's like to be a founder. And I was so naive when I was thinking, oh, I'm just going to solve this problem. Let's see what happens. So I've learned the hard way. But yeah, my biggest challenge was trying to connect with investors, because one thing I didn't know before I went into entrepreneurship was that to reach, I mean, obviously this might be different across the world, but in Europe, the only way to get investment is to get a warm introduction to an investor, which means that you need to somehow know a lot of people who have capital to give you. And so when you were speaking to investors, they would say, oh, just go and raise some money from your friends and family, or go get some money from some angel investors. And I thought, where am I going to find these people? And, you know, maybe my background means that I'm not going to, you know, bother my friends and family. They don't have the extra capital to commit to me, and I wouldn't want to make them risk that. So that was my greatest challenge. I'm not sure if that's, I think that is specific to my gender, but it could also be specific to my socioeconomic background and where I come from. Because if your local network of the people you know in your life are not these people with, you know, a couple of 100,000 or 10,000 euros sitting in your pocket, you're not going to get that to start your business. So I think it's specific to my gender, but I think there are other issues that, or other layers of it, that contributed to this specific challenge.
You know, as Alina was speaking, I was just like, okay, this is just exactly, you know, what we're going through right now. The issue, the challenge is funding. You know, one would think that, you know, as you're in business and you're running a successful business, you know, that you can see is sustainable, that things will become, you know, a little bit easier. No, it doesn't. I just, you know, currently fundraising for a project, which I also thought would be a walk in the park. We recently just bought a farm, out in the cradle of humankind in South Africa, to build eco-friendly glamping facilities, stuff that's not been done in South Africa, the type of structures that we want to put up. And I really also was naive, like Alina said. I thought, what, investors will see what I've already started. I've got a piece of land that is fully paid for. Here's my title deed. You can see the drive and the passion. They'll just come and bring the money. But no, it's not happening. And actually, I got a letter of regret the other day, and I was just like feeling a bit down, but I'm up. My spirits are up again. And I'm saying to myself, even if it means bootstrapping, one dome at a time or one structure at a time, but it will be done. Do I think that my gender has anything to do with it? Yes, I do. And I think that we have to prove ourselves. We have to, do triple the work that the males, would have to put in. So I think what's wonderful is that we know that these things exist. As much as we are trying to break those barriers, it can be disheartening at times, but we forge on and we fight. I think we are where we are because of exactly that, agility, that no matter what, we'll get turned down, but we keep on keeping on. So yeah.
We keep on.
My experience is similar to Alina's. I think for sure, access to finance is a big one for me. It comes in different forms. I remember when I started, my background is accounting and finance. So for me, I sort of took it for granted that I would be one of the businesses that would be funded because, I work in these environments and it should be easy. And it wasn't. And I think that for me, that was a shock in like the disparity between what you think will happen for you to be funded and actually getting funded. And it also made me realize just why there are so many businesses that are actually not funded. That for me, again, the biggest challenge was finance. And even with my background and with access to networks, I thought it would be easier than it actually was. So in the beginning, one of the mistakes that I almost made was give out too much equity too fast. And that's just something that, I would caution people about, because in as much as we want to be funded, the worst thing you would want is to put in all this hard work, make all these sacrifices, and find out that you don't even own your company at the end of that period. And it's also a question of value, of building value, like at what, even if you're giving out some of your company, at what price should it be given out? So when I began, I approached a couple of friends of mine, these rich friends that everybody talks about that we all never find when we need funding. I had a couple of friends who were going to give me funding, and I think it was $20,000 each. And in my mind, my company should be valued at $100,000 to begin with. So I was like, oh, I'll give them 20% each, which basically means I would have been left with 60%. So then it started, give this documents, give that documents, and it just became a question of documentation over and over again. And somehow it ended up being a good thing, because by the end of our second year, we'd made more than that in terms of revenues. So if I'd given away that equity at that time, I would have been holding on to people that would have contributed less value. I would have given away more value than I needed to. The other thing I would mention about financing is this question about valuations. I think as expensive as they may be, before you begin any equity conversation, it's very important to have a valuation and understand how the valuation works. Because when you understand how valuation works, then you can build that value so that you get value that is more commensurate with effort. Because for a lot of people, sweat equity is like, yeah, so what? You sacrificed your kids' schools and all of that. So what? It's expected because you were building, but you know what a sacrifice it is. So make sure that whatever sacrifices that you're making, that value is reflected in the business before you give it out. And within that challenge as well, I think that there are too many pitch competitions where one, the people who are given funds, would be it initial equity, so you say venture capital, most of them, it's a male-dominated industry, right? So especially for female funding, there's a lack of empathy, I find, in women's behavior towards risk and financing. So I found that there are a lot of men that would, as soon as they have a loan, they really have no idea how they're going to pay it back, whether the revenues they're projecting would work, but they'll grab the loan. I find that women are different, and this is a generalist statement, but a woman would want to be certain that she can pay back. Second, who owns the assets? Do we even have assets such that it can form the basis of collateral if we're looking for loans? And do we even have the networks? Because depending on where you are at which point you are in life, you'll find that either, it's your student network, you may not have a corporate network, or your network may even be other women with babies who are, facing other challenges at that time and may not be as liquid, even though they believe in you. So that whole, concept of who is funding you and who is determining whether you should be funded, I think is a big question that needs to be looked into. And I definitely think that it is impacted by gender, because there are a lot of boys clubs where, somebody who likes you sort of picks you up and mentors you, and then is able to give you funding, is able to show you the ropes. I don't think that is as common with women, even though that's changing. We're getting more networks. But by our very nature, especially at certain points in our careers and in our lives, it's harder for women to do these things. So I think that can be looked into and changed, but that's definitely been one of my main challenges in growing. It's been good in the sense that I have had the flexibility to look after my kids at a young age. We have grown organically. We have made mistakes on a smaller scale that has allowed us to correct and move faster. But at a certain point, you do want financing, you do want to be able to grow, you do want to be able to compete. And we need to look at how money moves into growing businesses, particularly female-owned businesses, and the kind of reports and requirements for that to happen.
Has actually been, let me say too, other than what has already been mentioned about financing, I think my greatest challenge has actually been culture change around food systems. Currently, you find that we want to take the shortcuts, even for our own families, to put food on the table. You find that potatoes that could grow maybe for 6 months are now ready in 3 months. You find that vegetables that were ready in 3 months are ready in 2 weeks. And you ask yourself how? And this is the use of pesticides and chemicals, which we are happy to make money today, but in the future ends up affecting us health-wise. We find that if we do not take charge of this situation right now, we are facing a time when we have a lot of diseases in the future. Even right now, we find that there are so many lifestyle diseases here. We have a lot of cancers and a lot of hypertension that are entirely based on the food, that culture around us. That it's possible that we are trustworthy. We are women, we are able to repay loans, we are able to access financing, we are thinkers, we can be able to bring solutions and sustainable solutions at that. Thank you. I think we should really embrace is to go the whole way. The thing about us as women is that we are naturals. We know that as women, we have children, we have mothers, we have sisters that we want to take care of. And if I told you today that what you're consuming today on your plate is going to affect you or your child or your mother or your sister or someone, a loved person to you, through cancers and hypertension and diabetes and all these other lifestyle diseases, I'm sure you're going to make a turnaround of the decisions that you make today. For me, if something would change, it would be, can we change the culture around how we grow food? There is a solution. We can be able to grow food without all these GMOs and pesticides and chemicals that we are putting into our food, which ends up affecting us. If that could change, I think that would be a really good thing. And so we are starting on a small scale. We are starting from where we are, and we are leading by education. We are educating our people. We are educating our clients. We are educating the institutions, the hospitals, and the schools that it is possible to grow food without using unnecessary and excess chemicals and pesticides and all these dangerous things that we use in our food. So for me, that has been the greatest challenge. Other than that, of course, the issue of financing. It has been very interesting. This week, I was in a few conferences with women, and many people were coming up and they were saying, the moment they walked into a bank, they were always asked, where is your title deed? And if the title deed is not in their name, they would be asked, you're not, they would be told you're not worthy of this loan. Come back with your husband, or come back with, they would ask, where is the man around you?
Most important thing is, you will be surprised, is the women themselves here in Egypt, because it is very important that the woman should understand their rights. It's very important that to not always play the role of victim, because we create this kind of victim. But if we speak up and we say that we have voices and we want to have this, so this is the very important. We have to work on the ladies and girls themselves, that you should not be shy. You should know that you can do it. You are capable of doing it. You have to ask for help. One of the things which we as ladies, we don't ask for help. We don't seek help. Although men, they have these tribes together and talk to each other to support each other. We as women as well have to teach ourselves how to do it. We have to knock the doors. Yes, there will be challenges in the beginning, but after a while, if we kept knocking, the doors will start be opening for us. So if I want to change in this, our ecosystem, that I will start working with us, with the women themselves. We wanted to be more active about what we want to do in life in general, because we have so much impact, and our contribution is very remarkable.
I've seen a lot of supportive groups coming out, especially in Ghana. I think the EWN is one of them, where you have women who have achieved, who are coming together and forming groups and mentoring and all of that. I would really like to see more support, more women supporting women. I believe this has been mentioned already by my previous panelists, but I think it's really important for women to share their journeys. I have benefited a lot from, mentors and friends who share some of their experiences and some of their pitfalls. I think even in terms of funding, and I've seen it happening already, just women groups where, every month you have your salary out of your salary, take 500 so if you have 6 women, for example, everybody does 500, you have 3,000, that goes to one person. The person invested in something, it goes to the next person and the next, as ways of just creating our own women funds that support each other. And when you look at what entrepreneurs in general also use the funds for, a lot of it is towards HR, for example. One of the biggest problems women businesses and generally entrepreneurial businesses experience is not even having records. So, you're looking for investments, you haven't done your financial statements in 4 or 5 years, you're not even utilizing those statements in decision making. So I would love to see like a central pool of experts where we have like HR people, we have finance people, we have marketing people, and they're providing support to the businesses such that even if you don't have money, but you have a certain skill, that can then be used towards supporting businesses and helping them thrive. Because I think there are a lot of resources that we all have, but because we work in silos, we're not talking to each other, we're worried about people copying our ideas, we end up making the journey harder than it should be. But I'm a great proponent of, let's stop working hard and holding that as a badge of accomplishments that, this was really hard. Let's make it easy. Let's work smart. Let's learn from others, because life shouldn't be so tough because you have a business that you're trying to run. Let's make it easy for each other by helping each other and by seeing these groups also work, these support systems working.
I agree with everyone. So I kind of want to say all of the above, but also I think one thing I would like to see, it may not be the main change, but it's definitely one of the changes I'd like to see is more female investors, more female angel investors, and more females working in the VC space. Because if you look at that 2% figure in Europe, majority of those of that funding towards women has been done by women. So I would love to see that change on that side, because diverse people will invest in diverse people. So that needs to change. I think on the founder side, I think it's really important that the next generation has role models. And I want to see a world where younger girls are not looking up to influencers on social media who are doing makeup tutorials, but they're looking at women who are building awesome businesses and changing the world. That's how I would like to see them being inspired. So that's the change I would like to see, but that's maybe not in the startup ecosystem, that's just the world in general.
With us here, I think it would be the support system. You know, a lot of businesses fail, you know, in less than 3 years, and before, and then also mostly before they even reach 5 years. I think number one, it would be the accessibility, you know, in terms of even registering a company. It needs to be made easy. You know, it needs to be, it does not, there's so much red tape right now in order for you to register a company, and there's so many documents, and it's costly. So I wish that government would make these things easy for women to just be able to register and run with it, and also offer tax rebates. You know, small businesses cannot be paying the same amount as multinationals. You know. So I think it is that support structure, and also, you know, the historical imbalances. You know, everybody knows that, you know, where we come from as a country. So we need that you know, that help, the support system, but mostly government. There's a lot of legislation and there's a lot of talk, but there's not action. And I, you know, I pray for the day where all these legislations and all this talk actually becomes, you know, something. You know, we need to open up these industries to women, and it needs to be made easy because women are ready to work.
Very clear. We find that many people start businesses just because you look around and you think, why don't I do this? But I think for us to be able to create sustainable businesses, we need to have a very clear why. And therefore, the role of mentors, the role of this accelerator programs are very important from that point when you're starting. So for me, if I would change something, it would be that. Let's have a program whereby when someone has an idea, they can be able to come and bounce it off here. Let's have mentorship. Let someone walk with you. Let someone think through with you. Let someone help you, you know, after you fail, because most of the times you find that you start something and you fail. The cost of failing is quite high until people want to go through the shortcuts. But once you have built a sustainable business, it is something that you'll be proud of, and you can be able to transfer it to your children, or even sell it at a good price. So for me, it would be, what can we be able to change? And that would be how we start our businesses and how we run them.
Okay, I want to see more women the spotlight being shown on more women, regardless of whether or not they're at the highest echelon. They should be celebrated for all that they've accomplished and all that they've overcome. We've seen it particularly in Ghana, where there are more women as heads of finance. but we need it across more industries, and we need those women to make more noise about what they've done. So I'd love to see that as a way of just having more role models and letting other women be encouraged to know that it can be done, it can be achieved. There's no industry where a woman cannot be accomplished, cannot succeed. And let's keep breaking the biases. Women are capable of doing anything that they put their minds to, and let's keep showing that and highlighting that.
But because when you say what to do about the systematic bias, I think we should work on to have systematic unbiased. So let me tell you about something happening here in Egypt, which is, I think it's cool. And I think this is an example of the systematic unbiased. Yani, for example, we have these big entities of corporate governance. And in the board of directors, we have a law that force the big corporates that at the board of directors, they have at least to have one female in their board of directors. According to the IFC, it should be 3 women. But here, at least in Egypt, they started to have this kind of systematic unbiased that they have to have diversity in the board of directors. So by creating this kind of systems, I think it can have a kind of control about this systematic bias that they are trying to enforce us and break the culture step by step. Because let us be realistic, we cannot change things all of a sudden. You have to take it one by one and train, even because even the women themselves need training. Yani, even as I think one of my colleagues has said, that even the pipeline of capable women of becoming startups and entrepreneurs are not that much, and capable women of being an investors are still not much. Yani, even if we said we wake up in the morning and said, okay, now we need a lot of angel investors women, and we need VCs and we need startups, there isn't that much. We still need to work on them and have this building their capacity and to be capable of it. So I think if we start having this, I think it will be great. Yeah.
One thing I have realized is that we all seem to have these systemic biases when it comes to women entrepreneurs. You find that we all have this roof that we have to go across. And if one of us is able to go across and you hold someone else's hand, then we are all able to cross together. When we celebrate each other, when we work with each other, then we are able to move to the other place where we want to be. Toni Morrison said that if you are free, you need to free somebody else. If you have some power, then your job is to empower somebody else. So if you have been able to reach somewhere and you hold your sister's hand and you get to that place, then it makes it very easy for that person to also do the same for the other person, and the other person to do it for the other person. And with time, we are able to move from that bias because we are respected, we are capable, and we do much better than the men. Thank you.
I just took the words out of my mouth. I completely agree with you there. And I was actually gonna give a quote there, that says that a candle loses nothing by lighting another. So let's make a noise, but let's also take our sisters with us. So if you've made it, if you've managed to break the barriers, make sure that you lend a helping hand, you go back to support those that are actually also wanting to go out there. So yes.
I appreciate the much that they have already done. And I think, as one of us said, we need a database of services, shared services such as accounting, HR, auditing, whereby when you go through my books of accounts, you're able to tell me, the other person has done it this way, and this could be easier for you so that you're also able to access the financing that we are all looking for. I'm looking at mentorship at a higher level. I'm looking at exchange programs. I'd love to see how it is working in Ghana. I'd love to come to Ghana and see what is going on there. How is it? What ideas can I borrow from there? Can you come to Kenya and I take you through what we do and how you can be able to borrow ideas from here? And therefore, I'm also looking at mastermind programs whereby we are able to sit as women in a circle and go through each one of us, through our businesses. Let's talk about our hurdles, our challenges, and how we can be able to overcome. You find that I could be having a certain challenge and I'm stuck because of that challenge. But when I sit with a fellow woman entrepreneur in a different place or even in the same place, I'm able to see things from a different perspective. So I think AfricaBerlin Network has much more to do, and we already appreciate what they're doing.
Sure. I think that they're already on track. The mere fact that we are sitting here today having this discussion, but of course there's more that can be done. Creating networks, that are led by different women. Gatherings such as this, sharing of ideas. I think we are on track, in terms of, upskilling and just exchanging information. This is a perfectly good start. And I believe that a lot of us will leave this platform here today empowered, having learned from each other. And yeah, this is exactly what we need.
So I think, to be honest, for me, it's all about community. When I started the entrepreneurship journey, it was very, very lonely. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know who I could share this journey with. And I was just feeling so lost, not knowing any other entrepreneurs, not knowing who I should be speaking to. And the community that I managed to then join and build around me has been the thing that's kind of kept me going this whole time. And I think that's exactly what this network is bringing. And just speaking to all of you amazing women doing such fantastic things, you already feel like you're part of a strong community. And I think that's exactly what this network brings. And I'm really grateful to have had a part to play in it today.
An exact initiative we are doing here in Egypt called Woman Up, and it is powered by BznsBuilder. And of course, would love that we have the AfricaBerlin network support us, because it's a huge project all over the year where we already bring great ladies here from Egypt, and also we invite ambassadors from other countries, so that we have this kind of exchange culture about women success stories there, and we also tell there about what we have, because sometimes in Europe they are already advanced in what have women passed through, and also we're still in the beginning, so we want to learn from their experience and also how we can benefit from them. So all of this kind of exchange of stories and projects, it benefits us a lot. Also, we do this kind of podcasting that we interview great women here in Egypt through podcasts. We have this kind of roundtable to discussion about this kind of project. So, of course, I would love to, if there is a project especially for women, we have this project in Egypt powered by our company. It's called Woman Up, and this is specific only for women. And for other things, I think there is many things that we can do. Just to, as my colleague said, that we also can travel to African countries to understand about what we can do there. How can BznsBuilder has an opportunity there? How can the other incubators, we invite them here in Egypt so that we have this kind of exchange of experiences. Yani, I would love to have this kind of coffee. We here in Egypt, we love coffee, so would love to know the story behind it. This kind of amazing things, I think it keeps us moving, it inspires us, and definitely the result will be amazing.